Hello! I went to Churchill, Manitoba, the polar bear capital of the world, almost a year ago. I got a lot of great footage when I was there with the northern lights and the polar bears, but unfortunately I just didn't have enough time to put it all together. Well, here it is. I finally got the time, I put it all together, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Landing on the rocks that were covered in snow as well, so it was a fairly soft landing as far as plane crashes go.
Polar bears are considered marine mammals. They love the water. So as you can see, we are pretty much completely surrounded by water here. That means these bears can kind of pop up out of nowhere.
This is the Churchill River flowing into Hudson Bay, and the bears know this. This is why they're coming to this area, because this is one of the areas in Hudson Bay where the ice forms first.
That's 40,000 people living in an area that's just slightly smaller than the entire land area of the country of Mexico.
Hello! It's 7 a.m. morning the next night. Last night we went for Northern Lights viewing. Stayed out till like midnight. It was absolutely amazing. I saw some like red in the Northern Lights, and that was the first time I ever saw something like that. Yeah, but it's 7 a.m. in the morning. We're gonna go get some breakfast, and our Arctic crawler tour starts at 8:30, and they said to be there 15 minutes earlier, so 8:15. I think I barely have time for breakfast, so let's get some breakfast and then head out. Also, if you're wondering what this is, this right here is a card that says that all meals included. So I'm wearing this before I go for the breakfast. Hey, I'm back from breakfast. It was great. It was buffet style. It was very busy. Hardly could find seating, but it was absolutely amazing. But I thought I'll come back before we head out for a Tundra Arctic Crawler buggy or Tundra Arctic Crawler adventure. I thought I would show you the schedule for the next few days. So, here we go. So, this is subject to change. Obviously, they said that it depends on how the weather is and how everything is. But that's the thing. Arctic Crawler today, and then we have a few activities tomorrow, and then Arctic Crawler again on November 6th. And then we board out November 6th. Yeah, in the evening. So let's see how this Arctic crawler is. We just ate our lunch, a sandwich and a soup. We did see some polar bears. I made video on my other camera, maybe vertical, but however it is, I'm gonna show it right now. They were a little far away though. It would have been better if they were closer, but what can we do, right? We do have another one of these Tundra Arctic Crawler adventure day after tomorrow, so maybe that day they'll be closer. But as of right now, they were a little far away. We still have some time. Maybe we'll see some more. But yeah, we saw some. They were pretty far away. It's tough to get a good picture of them. Yeah, let's see how it goes. So we are back from the Arctic Crawler Tundra Tour by Lazy Bear Expeditions. It was absolutely amazing. It was like 8 to 9 hours. It was a long day, but it was absolutely amazing. I liked how there was so much space in that Arctic Crawler for, like, we were 24 of us. So whenever we saw like a bear on one side or the other side, everyone rushed when the Arctic Crawler stopped. So that's when, even when the bear was at the back, like they had like a balcony thing in the back. But yeah, Arctic Crawler was very big, and it accommodated 24 of us with no problems. There was a lot of space for people to view the bears all around, front, back, left, right. It was absolutely amazing. In the beginning parts, I was getting a little worried because we didn't see any bears. Like we were slowly not seeing any bears, and then I was like, oh no, are we not going to see any bears today? That's not so good. But after lunch, it picked up pretty fast. I think we saw like 8 different bears and in like total of 15 different sightings, and they came very close to the crawler. It was absolutely amazing. It was an absolutely amazing time. Yeah, no, we got back, and then I went for dinner at the Lazy Bear Cafe here, and now I'm back in my room. Before I go to bed, though, I did check the Northern Lights forecast, Aurora forecast, and the KP index is at like 3 or 4, which is pretty low, and it's also cloudy. So no Northern Lights for tonight. Maybe I'll check back tomorrow. Yeah, we got a few different tours tomorrow. It's not an Arctic Crawler Tundra tour. It's many different small tours tomorrow. So I'm gonna bring you along for every single one of those adventures. But yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes. But for tonight, peace.
It was built during, just prior to the war or during the war, and it would have been a military cargo plane. After the war, a lot of these planes would have been retired and sold to companies like Lamb Air, which this plane is from. So Lamb Air was notorious for overloading their planes, trying to get as much cargo from Churchill and other areas towards the northern communities. So they were trying to get the biggest profit possible with with a small plane. So that's one of the reasons we call her Miss Piggy. She was always overloaded, so a bit gluttonous in that sense. But at one point she did carry pigs as well. So in the making of this tourist attraction, no animal lives were harmed. A pilot, a co-pilot, and a crew member. And they had just taken off from the airport, and they were just flying above this area, and they started experiencing some engine troubles. So they decided that, hey, we can't make it. So they turned around, and there used to be a hydro line all along this road here. We'll be taking this road down. It's known as the Coastal Road. So they ended up taking that hydro wire out, gliding over the trees that would have been covered in snow, and landing on the rocks that were covered in snow as well. So it was a fairly soft landing as far as plane crashes go. So only the pilot broke 3 bones in his foot. So it's a pretty good day if you ask me. So Lamb Air, they did decide to just take the insurance claim and leave the plane up here. Again, like anything in Churchill, it costs a lot to ship it up here, but it costs even more to ship it down. So they decided to leave it. It used to be a white plane, but it was painted gray for a movie set, and then in 2017, there was an artist that decided to paint the skulls on them with all the flowers, so life among death. So the whole point of that mural was to really pay homage to climate change and the climate crisis that we're dealing with. And what they're trying to get across is, hey, if we keep going with the way that we're going, we're gonna do a lot of damage to ourselves and eventually it'll just be the plants climbing through the ashes again. So the Inuit, the word, it means the people of the land. So one person would be known as an Inuk. So we have that root word and the word Inukshuk. So it literally means to look like a person. So you'll have your legs, your torso, your arms, and your head on there. So the Inuit people would have used the Inukshuks to mark their way, to mark their territories, but also to let themselves know where they have certain food stores as well. So when you're on the tundra, every little pond, every little bush, every little rock is going to start to look the same after a while. I'm sure a lot of you were confused yesterday on the crawler about where we were. And it would be the same thing for them as well. They are great people when it comes to navigating the land, but there is times in life where things get a little repetitive and confusing. So they would use these to mark off where the caribou herds would come. Sometimes they would even put several Inukshuks in a row to make it look like a row of people, and that would disorient the caribou as well, helping them harvest them. Or if they had a really good seal hunt and they couldn't take everything back home to their families, then they would have a large pile of seals up in the tundra or along the ice, and that would act as a deep freezer, and they would put some Inukshuks there, and that would let them know, hey, if I come back here, I have my food stores here as well. If we look on this side over here, we'll get a better view once we're outside, but I just want to talk about it in here because it is a little warmer. That is the Churchill Sports Complex that was built in 1973 and 1974. When our population was much larger than 800 people, it would have been about 3, maybe 4,000 or so. So right now it does contain our hospital, a little bit of a nursing home, our pharmacy, our elementary and high school, a skating rink, a curling rink, a bowling alley, a movie theater, the town offices, a library, and a couple more things.
I'm not going for a swim, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's colder.
I get home. Most of the time,
Okay, perfect. So you know what they look like, you know that they're around. So polar bears are considered marine mammals. They love the water. So as you can see, we are pretty much completely surrounded by water here. That means these bears can kind of pop up out of nowhere, especially on a foggy day. I mean, it's lifted now, but fog's coming in and out, so we might not see them approaching from the water. So because of that, I'm going to ask you guys stay as a nice tight-knit group. Try not to spread out. I'm sure I know I've already told you that. If you want to stop and take pictures, that's fine, but try and keep up with the group if you can. If you get cold or you need to come back for the washroom or whatever, just let either your guide or myself or your interpreter know, and we'll escort you guys back. We just don't want anyone going off on their own. That's going to be the kind of person that a bear goes after. They want to go after the weakling or the person who's separated, so just stay as a tight-knit group. So if a bear does come on site, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remain calm. We're going to stop where we are, and we're going to see what the bear is doing. We generally like to move people rather than the bears. People tend to be a little bit more compliant than polar bears are. So I'd rather not aggravate them trying to move them. We're going to move you guys somewhere and then see what the bear does from there. So in the event a bear does come on site, first thing I'm going to do, like I said, remain calm, stay as a group. Please do not immediately start lifting up your cameras and taking pictures. I'm going to have some commands for you, or Heather or Kevin, my colleagues, they're going to have some commands for you. We need to get you guys somewhere safe first. Then we can get you guys some pictures. Depending on where they are, we very well could stay just right where we are and taking pictures, but like I said, I need your eyes and ears on me. So if a bear does come on site and we need to move you guys, we're going to move you either to the battery, which you'll see when you get up on site. It's a wall with a cannon on it. That means we only have one direction to protect you from. Makes it a little bit easier for us. More than likely what we're going to do is bring you right back down here, get you guys right back onto the bus. So if we're going to get back onto the bus, forget where you were sitting when you got here, get in, head straight to the back, start filling the seats from the back to the front. We want to get everyone on the bus as quickly as possible. Your guide will be the last one on. He doesn't want to end up at polar bear lunch because people are trying to get to their proper seats, all right?
We've talked about this, and if I start yelling at you, it's because I love you.
Yeah.
Welcome to Parks Canada. Welcome to the Prince of Wales Fort National Historic Site. My name is Heather, and I'll be your guide for the next probably a half hour or so until you all stop moving because you're frozen. And I'll try not to talk for too long so we can get our bodies moving and keep warm. So I just wanted to orient you to what you're looking at. This is the Churchill River flowing into Hudson Bay. Hudson Bay is 1,500 kilometers north-south and about 800 kilometers west-east.
North-southeast.
Yeah. And Parks Canada looks after 2 national historic sites and 1 national park in our area. This is one of them, the Prince of Wales Fort, and the second one is York Factory, located about 250 kilometers southeast of here. You're not going to see that on this trip, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. And then we look after Wapas National Park, which is located about 35 kilometers from here. And that is your first word in the Swampy Cree dialect. Wapask means, anyone? What could it mean in polar bear country? Polar bear! And in 1684, they set up York Factory on the Hayes River. And once they had solidified trade with the Swampy Cree, they started thinking, well, who else could we trade with? Well, if we go north to this area, we can trade with the Dene and the Inuit. And that's what brought them into our area here in Churchill in the early 1700s. And one of the things that's very interesting to me is that we are in a place called it's the Hudson James Bay Lowlands. It's wetlands, bogs and fens and muskeg. Yet we have all of this beautiful rock in this area. And that's one of the reasons why they were able to build a stone fort across the river. We had all the building blocks that they would need for that. So that is the original cannon battery, and when they finished it, they realized they were pointing all their own cannons at their own fort. Now, I'm no military strategist, but it doesn't seem like a good idea. The second issue with that was they had gunpowder stored there. And of course, when you're firing off a cannon, you need to light the cannon, and having the gunpowder there, again, not a wise move. And thirdly, they had a big flagpole, which meant it was very easy for the enemy ships to sight onto the flag. So brilliant. So they simply tore it down, and they built this one in 1747. Floating that on there. Occasionally a dog will be floating out. Yeah, you see all kinds of wildlife on there.
So neat.
And it'll jam up against the coast here. And the bears know this. This is why they're coming to this area, because this is one of the areas in Hudson Bay where the ice forms first. Back then, the 2 commanders got together and had a nice dinner and brokered a deal out of that conversation. Both of those men realized they were kindred spirits. They had both worked in the navies on different sides, mind you, but and they both traveled the world. And one of the things that had been taken when they sacked the fort was Samuel Hearne's journals. And Samuel Hearne had done some, if you can believe it, walks to the high Arctic from here. Oh, my. And he had made a lot of notes. And La Perouse recognized the value of these. So the deal was this: if the English pilots would direct the French ships safely out of the treacherous waters of Hudson Bay, the English would be given a boat, a sloop, and they could go safely back to England. The second part of that deal was that Samuel Hearne had to publish his journals. And both men were good to their word. Mm-hmm. And you can purchase To Cross the Frozen Ocean by Samuel Hearne at the Asanatak Museum. Your guide can tell you more about that. He's read it. Everything that could be dragged across the frozen river was dragged across here. In 1933, the town was established. And then in the 1950s, the American military arrived. Thousands of men strong. The only person who knew they were coming, the story goes, was the guy who sells the beer. I thought that was a great story. And they very quickly built that runway that you likely used when you came in. They also built what would become the new Fort Churchill, right beside the runway. Have you seen the polar bear jail?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that is one of the Quonset huts that the American military built. And all of that area was very, very highly developed. And then the sort of adjunct to that was the Churchill Rocket Research Range, which was doing all kinds of work on the upper atmosphere in the Aurora Borealis. And one of the little-known facts is that the what is now Wapas National Park was actually considered for a place to detonate a nuclear bomb. Oh, God.
Ooh.
We lost the contract. Australia got it. Yeah. So, yeah, can you imagine?
And that is to provide you with just a very brief introduction to Inuit art and culture. If you take a moment to look at the map above the walrus case over here on the wall, you'll see that area outlined in sort of that pink salmon color. That's the Canadian territory of Nunavut. So it's immediately north of Manitoba. It stretches out across western and northern Hudson Bay, all the way up through the high Arctic islands to the northwest tip of Greenland. Now this is what we would ordinarily refer to as the central and eastern Arctic, and it is where the majority of our pieces come from. Now at present, there's just shy of about 40,000 people living in Nunavut, about 85% of which would identify as Inuit. There are about 25 communities there, so they're spread out over 1/5, almost 20% of the Canadian landmass. So just to put that into perspective, that's 40,000 people living in an area that's just slightly smaller than the entire land area of the country of Mexico. So very sparsely populated, very remote. The only way in or out of Nunavut is by air. There are no roads. By the 1940s, the bishop at that time felt that it might be worthwhile to create a museum to display the material, because what they found is that people were naturally curious about the North and the people that lived there. Churchill was a very different place in the sort of Second World War and post-war period. There were thousands of people stationed here with the American and Canadian militaries. It expanded in the 1950s into another building on this property, and then expanded again in the 1960s with the construction of the building that we're currently in today. Now I will point out that neither the narwhal nor the walrus are hunted for their ivory to make art. They're hunted for food to eat. The ivory is just simply a byproduct of that subsistence fishery.
Well, you're with a true Churchillian tonight, which means I was born and raised here. This is my town. Okay, I'm 3rd generation Churchill, my kids are 4th generation, and my 11 grandchildren are 5th generation. Wow. Okay, I've been here 59 years. And my dogs are no different than a C&I dog, or a retriever dog, or a herding dog, or a police dog, or an army dog. My dogs are sled dogs. That's what they do. Okay, that's what they're bred to do, and that's what's in their DNA. Just the other day, me and Rhea were walking down the back trail there, kicking rocks off of it, because I heard we were getting about 1 centimeter of snow, and that's what we made our trail out of. So we're on sleds, but you know, it's only about this thick. It's very fragile right now, but it's very slippery because I had to pack it down like it's ice. Okay, but we were walking on the trail kicking rocks off, and there was a stick there, so I picked it up and I threw it in the bush, and Rhea looked at me, and then she looked to see what I was throwing the stick at. A lot of people come here and they say, what kind of dogs are those? I go, those are sled dogs. They go, no, you don't know what I mean. What breed are they? I go, they're sled dog breed. They go, you don't know what I mean. I said, you don't know what I mean. You know what I mean? These dogs have been bred through centuries. In 2010, I ran from Churchill all the way to Winnipeg, so I've seen this province from one end to the other on the back of a dog sled with my best friend. That's what my dogs look like coming into Winnipeg after 20 days of running. When we left Churchill on January 3rd, we were just approaching the outskirts of Winnipeg on January 23rd, where the police had all the traffic stopped on the perimeter highway, where we crossed the perimeter highway, got onto the Assiniboine River, and we ran right through the heart of Winnipeg, right to the Forks in downtown Winnipeg. But they stopped me before I got on the river. They said, you have to wait for your escort. I said, what do I need an escort for? They said, well, the Assiniboine River is dangerous. I said, you know, I just came from Churchill. Dogs know everything about their humans. They know what time you get home. They know if you're sick. They know if you're sad. They know if you're mad. They know when they've done something wrong. You ever go in your house and you go, who did that? And the dog goes away. Right? So that's why it doesn't take very much to correct a dog. But watch how energetic they are to get all hooked up and go again. You're my 7th group today.
Wow.
Okay? We pushed over 100 people through this kennel today once we've done you guys.
Really cute. Right? I want to take him home.
That's Rhea, everybody. Rhea. She's worked every run so far because she's my superstar lead dog.
Oh.
Superstar! Everybody, watch out, dogs coming. Again, thank you very much.
And thank you.